Welcome to the deep dive. So, today we're talking about those products that, I don't know, they just completely change how you live, right?
Oh, absolutely. The kind of thing where once you use it, everything that came before feels, I don't know, almost medieval.
Medieval, exactly. Like trying to find your way somewhere with a giant paper map.
Yeah, trying to fold it in the car and you're fighting with it. And then you just get Google Maps and you think, how did anyone ever get anywhere before this?
It's not just that it's an upgrade,
Mm.
it's a total cognitive replacement. The old way becomes unthinkable.
Right. And we see it with things you don't even think about, like a washing machine or a refrigerator. These things just totally eliminate entire categories of work and anxiety from your life.
And just change the baseline of what you expect from modern life itself.
And if we sort of narrow that down to our professional lives
Mhm.
over, say, the last 15, 20 years,
Mm.
there is one platform that really, really embodies that shift.
A platform that, for better or worse, our professional identities are just anchored to.
Anchored is the perfect word, maybe reluctantly, but yeah, fundamentally.
It's this really weird social network that sits in this uncomfortable middle ground. It's not the one you scroll through to relax.
No, you're not exactly enjoying your time on it.
Not at all, but at the same time, you get this vague, nagging professional anxiety if you even think about not having it. Like, what if I just deleted my profile? It feels risky.
And that feeling is, it's pretty well founded. We were looking at the source material, and there's this fascinating beta point. It's one of the very few big Western social media platforms that actually operates in China.
Which is incredible when you think about it.
It just shows you how deeply embedded it is institutionally, globally. It crosses borders that others just can't.
So today we are talking about LinkedIn. And look, we could spend the whole time talking about its history, the PayPal mafia, Reid Hoffman, the big Microsoft acquisition.
All that success story stuff.
Right. We're setting all of that aside today.
Yeah, we're not here for the tech history montage.
We want to focus on a very specific question for you, the person who uses it every day. We're diving into this core discomfort that we found running through all the source material you sent over.
And that uncomfortable question, the central question for our analysis today, is really this.
Is LinkedIn still useful? I mean, really, is it?
Yeah.
We're going to try and get past the surface level complaints and really analyze its scale, its monetization, the weird social dynamics, and, well, whether that original promise of connection is just completely broken.
We're hoping to give you a really thorough, really critical look at this thing that's become, an irritating necessity for so many of us.
Okay, so let's try to unpack this huge paradox. And I think we have to start with the absolute foundation of the whole thing.
The connection itself.
The idea of a connection. The entire platform is built on this idea of professional access and reciprocity.
And it starts with that number you see on everyone's profile, that vanity metric.
Yes. For me, and I know for so many people listening, you look at your profile and it says over 500 connections. And that sounds impressive, right?
It's a huge psychological benchmark. The platform is designed that way. Once you cross 500, it stops showing the real number and just gives you that 500-plus badge.
And it immediately makes you look, I don't know, established.
Well-networked, active.
Yeah.
A professional social butterfly, as one of the sources put it. You're in the club.
Yeah, and it looks great on paper. You think, wow, I have 500, maybe 1,000 people in my network, former colleagues, people from that one conference you went to in 2017.
Or just random people who sent you an invite and you thought, well, I guess this is what you're supposed to do here.
Yeah.
And you clicked accept.
Exactly. And if you look at their profiles, everyone's sort of signaling this openness, right? You see all these phrases like happy to help or my inbox is always open.
Let's connect and discuss the industry.
It's the implicit contract of the entire platform. That's the core promise. Connecting means you have access.
All right. You build a network now and you can cash in that social capital later when you need something.
An intro, a reference, some advice. It's like a bank account of professional favors waiting to be withdrawn.
And to be fair, for a while that actually worked. It was genuinely a game changer. It took the old Rolodex, the dusty business cards.
And made it alive, interactive.
Exactly. But, and this is the huge but, here is where the experience today just completely falls apart.
We've all done this. You have a real, legitimate, professional reason to reach out to someone. You need to talk to someone in a specific department or you're thinking of a career change. So you go through your 500-plus connections, you find the perfect person, you write a nice message, and you hit send. What happens next?
Nothing.
Nothing.
A profound, echoing silence, as the source material calls it, the ghosting phenomenon. And it's not like they get back to you a week later. It's a total non-response.
It's so demoralizing because you're doing exactly what the platform tells you to do. You're not even getting a polite, hey, sorry, I'm swamped right now.
You don't even get the low-effort emoji reaction. Not a thumbs up, nothing. You just send this carefully crafted message out into the void.
So what happened? Why is a network built on reciprocity now defined by non-engagement? If the value is access, why is access the one thing you can't seem to get?
I think the meaning of a connection has just completely changed. Connecting isn't the start of a relationship anymore.
What is it then?
It's the end goal. It's become the whole point.
So you're saying people just want to connect to get that 500+ number up, to make their own profile look good?
That's a huge part of it. It's about validating your own status, not actually building a bridge to someone else. You're just archiving people into your network.
Wow.
And that right there is the first huge structural crack in the whole system. The network looks a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep.
You have this theoretical access to hundreds of people, but in reality, the door is locked. Or maybe a better way to put it is the lobby is so crowded that no one can hear you knock.
Right. So when you actually try to use your network, when you try to, spend that professional currency you thought you were saving up, you just get silence and anxiety.
The emotional cost of even trying becomes too high because you know the chance of a reply is basically zero. It's a network that punishes you for trying to network. What a paradox.
To really get why this is so disappointing now, I think we have to remember just how revolutionary it felt when it first came out. And for that, we use this idea we call the air fryer effect.
Ah, the air fryer effect. I love this analogy. It's our name for those products that don't necessarily feel like a lightning strike at first, but they quietly make the old way of doing things feel obsolete.
Yeah, they almost feel a little boring or obvious at first. When the air fryer came out, people were like, oh, it's just a little convection oven. Big deal.
But then you get one, and you realize you can get super crispy food with almost no oil and, crucially, no preheating. And then you go back to your big oven. You have to wait 20 minutes for it to heat up just to cook some chicken nuggets, and it feels
inefficient, archaic, a huge waste of time and energy.
That's the key. The old way becomes unbearable. You see it with contactless payments or using Google Docs instead of emailing Word documents back and forth.
Oh, God. The final V4 final.doc emails.
Exactly. The new way is so obviously better that you can't imagine going back.
And LinkedIn, in its early days, was absolutely the air fryer for professional networking. It didn't just digitize the old system. It completely replaced a really painful high-friction process.
Think about what networking was like before 2005. It was miserable.
Truly miserable. You had to set up these awkward coffee meetings, usually through someone who knew someone.
And the business cards. What a terrible system. You'd go to a conference, get a stack of 50 cards, and then what? They'd get lost in your wallet, or the person would change jobs in 6 months and the card was useless.
LinkedIn just solved all of that in one go. It wasn't just a database. It was a living resume. It updated itself. Before that, your career history was scattered all over the place.
Right, on different resumes for different jobs, maybe an old website.
But suddenly, your entire career had this single, continuous, verifiable timeline in one place. That was incredibly powerful. It created this centralized professional identity that just hadn't existed at scale before.
And it felt like it democratized things, too, or at least it gave you the feeling of democratization.
The illusion of access was almost as important as the real thing, yeah. That CEO, who was just a name in a magazine, was now theoretically one connection request away.
It felt like you were breaking down walls.
You were. So that's the baseline we have to remember. That feeling of moving from the Stone Age to the digital age overnight. The air fryer worked perfectly at first. The problem is what happened next.
Okay, but that powerful foundation, that living resume that felt so revolutionary, it feels like it's been completely destabilized now. And this is where it stops being about features and starts being about, I guess, the sociology of the network itself.
Yeah, this is where we have to talk about how fragile networks are. They're not just technology, they're social constructs. And they only work in a very specific sweet spot.
They need enough people to be useful, but not too many to become chaotic.
Exactly. At a small scale, say a network of 50 people you actually know. Every connection means something. If you reached out to one of them, the social cost of them ignoring you would be really high. It would hurt their reputation in that small group.
Right. But that social contract just completely breaks down when you get to a certain size.
And LinkedIn didn't just reach that size. It blew past it. The source material cites the number, and it's staggering. Over 1 billion users now.
1 billion. I mean, As a business metric, that's an incredible success.
An incredible success. And as our analysis argues, it's also the absolute root of the problem.
Because when everyone is connected to everyone,
No one really feels connected to anyone.
it's the law of diminishing returns, but for, like, social capital.
Brutally so.
Yeah.
The value of any single connection just plummets. I mean, if you have 600 connections and I have 1,200, what does that even mean anymore? It just means we've been on the platform for a long time and clicked accept a lot.
So the value of adding a connection goes down, but you're saying the cost of ignoring a connection goes down even more.
Way more. And that's the key. Think about someone who's actually in a high-demand job. A hiring manager at Google, a VC, a CEO.
But their inbox must be a nightmare.
It's an information fire hose. They're getting dozens of connection requests a day, maybe 20 cold pitches in their in-mail, plus all their actual work emails. It is literally impossible for them to respond to everything and still do their job.
Okay, so this is where rational ghosting comes in.
Exactly. It sounds cold, but if you think about it as just information management, it makes perfect sense. They have to triage, they have to prioritize people they already know, their team, their clients.
So that message from the person they kind of met at a conference 5 years ago asking for a 30-minute call?
It just gets deleted. Not because they're a bad person, but out of pure rational necessity. They're trying to stay sane.
It's self-preservation.
It is.
Yeah.
In a system where attention is the only currency that matters, ghosting becomes the only scalable defense against the flood.
Wow. So the very platform that was designed to remove friction from professional communication
has created this massive new kind of social friction.
Yeah.
The scale itself broke the meaning of the connection. It turned a revolution into a bottleneck.
So if the core value, the social connection, is broken because of the scale, the platform has to find other ways to make money, right? To show growth to its shareholders from that billion user base.
And that's when things get really uncomfortable. That's when we have to talk about LinkedIn Premium.
Yeah, this is maybe the sharpest critique in all the source material.
Yeah.
The business model seems to be built on selling a cure for the anxiety the platform itself creates.
One of the sources framed it so perfectly. It said, Premium is the subscription that asks, what if career anxiety?
But $41 a month.
And let's just pause on that number, $41 a month. That's almost $500 a year.
It's not a small subscription. I mean, compare that to other things you pay for. The sources point out it's more than Spotify and Netflix combined.
And think about what those services give you. Joy, relaxation, entertainment. Right. And Premium is supposed to give you career leverage, peace of mind. It's selling you a solution to the fear of being invisible or falling behind.
So what do you get for your $41? You can see who viewed your profile, which feeds your paranoia.
You get in-mail credits, which are supposed to let you cut through the ghosting, but often don't.
And you get access to some online courses, all things designed to make you feel like you're getting an edge.
But here's the really troubling part. Let's talk about who needs that edge the most.
Okay.
The people who are most anxious about their careers, the ones who feel they desperately need to send that in-mail or see who's looking at their profile, are students, recent grads, people who have just been laid off.
The people with the least amount of money.
Exactly. The people who are in the most financially and emotionally vulnerable position, they're the prime target.
And who can actually afford to pay $41 a month without even thinking about it?
People with stable, well-paying jobs, executives, salespeople, recruiters who can just expense it anyway.
So, the people who need it most can't afford it. And the people who can afford it don't really need it.
That's the powerful irony of it. It's become a luxury product enjoyed by the professionally secure, paid for by extracting money from the professionally anxious.
And you have to assume this is having an effect on younger people, right? On Gen Z who are just entering the workforce.
A huge effect. The sources show this quiet but very real migration happening. Younger people are just opting out of the LinkedIn ecosystem.
Where are they going?
To simpler, free-to-use platforms. Things like Handshake, which is tied into university career centers, or just massive job boards like Indeed, or Glassdoor for salary info.
Tools that are just tools. They're not a social network.
Precisely. They have a much lower psychological cost. You don't have to perform. You don't have to build a brand or write hustle poetry to apply for a job on Indeed. You just apply for the job.
It's transactional, not performative.
And that's what seems to be more appealing. This whole ecosystem that LinkedIn has built, the performance, the anxiety, the expensive premium tier, it's starting to feel fundamentally out of touch to a generation that just wants efficient, straightforward utility.
Okay, so if the networking is broken and the monetization feels predatory, the platform still needs you to log in every day, right, to keep the engagement numbers up. And the way they do that is by controlling the feed.
Which brings us to a term that's been getting a lot of traction lately to describe this exact problem on big platforms.
In-shitification.
It's a blunt term, but it's very descriptive.
It is. It was coined by the writer Cory Doctorow, and it basically describes this predictable life cycle of platforms once they get too big and powerful.
Where they pivot from serving their users to just squeezing value out of them.
Exactly. And you can break it down into 3 stages, and they map perfectly onto LinkedIn's history.
Okay, what's stage 1?
Stage 1 is attraction. The platform gives you something amazing for free, or at least very cheap. They burn through venture capital to get you hooked. For LinkedIn, that was the air fryer effect, period. The living resume, the easy connections. Yeah. It was genuinely useful.
Right. Then comes stage 2, monetization. They have huge user base, hundreds of millions of people, and they start to cash in. They sell ads, they introduce the first version of premium, they charge recruiters for access. It's a stable, profitable business.
And then comes stage 3.
Stage 3 is the squeeze, or the enshittification itself. This is when they know they have you locked in. You can't really leave, so they start to degrade the experience to make more money.
How does that show up for us, the users?
It shows up as a noisy feed. The platform needs you to like, share, and comment, so it starts prioritizing content that gets easy, cheap engagement, not necessarily content that's actually useful for your career.
We've all seen it. It's this bizarre mix of, like, corporate memes, repurposed TikToks.
And the worst of all, hustle poetry.
Oh, hustle poetry. I know it so well. It's that post that starts with a long, dramatic story. I saw the custodian scrubbing the floor at 2 a.m. I asked him, "Why are you working so late?"
Yes. And then he said something incredibly profound like, "Success never sleeps," and the post gets 10,000 likes.
Or the black and white photo of the person staring out a window with a caption like, "Synergy is just the horizontal integration of vertical thinking. Drop a rocket emoji if you agree."
It's content that says absolutely nothing, but it says it very loudly. It's optimized for that meaningless emoji reaction. It gives you zero real insight, but it keeps you scrolling.
But here's the real question. If the feed is just full of that junk, what happens to the people you actually want to hear from?
That's the great irony. The signal-to-noise ratio just collapses. The real experts, the CEOs, the operators with actual nuanced insights, they've gone quiet.
They're not posting there anymore.
Or if they are, their smart, subtle posts are getting buried under the hustle poetry, so they've moved. They're sharing their real thoughts on X or on niche podcasts or on private newsletters.
They're going to places where the audience is more curated and the algorithm isn't rewarding junk food content.
Precisely. So you, the average user, are left with a platform that is essential for your professional existence. But the main channel for consuming information on it, the feed, is almost entirely useless for gaining actual knowledge.
That's a perfect description. They've maximized engagement by completely minimizing value.
So after all of that, the ghosting, the anxiety for sale model, the useless feed, you have to ask the big question, why is it still here? Why hasn't it just collapsed?
Right. If the social part is broken and the content is broken, why are we all still on it? Why haven't those other platforms like Indeed or Handshake just taken over completely?
Because for all of its very deep flaws in user experience, LinkedIn still does one thing, one single thing, and it does it so well and so universally that it makes it almost indestructible.
And that one thing is?
Verification.
Verification. Okay, explain that. That's more than just proving you are who you say you are.
Much more. It's the only place on the internet, really, where 3 critical things come together in a standardized, trusted way. First, your identity, your name and face. Second, your work history, your employers, your titles, the dates. And third, your reputation, your endorsements, your connections, even if they're hollow.
It's a public ledger of your professional life.
A public ledger that, crucially, is trusted by institutions. Specifically, it's trusted by the entire global hiring machine.
Recruiters.
Recruiters live and die by it. They might not read the feed, but they absolutely trust the data in your profile as the gold standard.
So when a recruiter gets my resume as a PDF,
the very first thing they do, almost without exception, is they open another tab and they search your name on LinkedIn.
Why? What are they looking for?
They're cross-referencing. They're checking to see if the dates match up, if the job title is the same. They're looking for inconsistencies. The fact that your LinkedIn profile is public forces a level of honesty that a private resume doesn't.
It's a fact-checking tool.
A massive global fact-checking tool. And companies still post jobs there because they know that's where everyone is. It's the default.
So its survival has nothing to do with being a good social network anymore.
Nothing at all. It survives because it is a mandatory, bureaucratic credentialing system. It's not fun. It's not social. It's just required.
It's the unloved essential.
Perfect phrase for it. It's the paperwork of your online career. You don't use it for what you can gain socially from it anymore. You use it because of what you would lose institutionally if you weren't on it.
The cost of not being there is just too high.
It validates that you professionally exist. And for now, nothing else does that at a global scale.
Okay, so we've gone through the broken promises, the problems of scale, the premium squeeze, the terrible feed, and we've landed on why it's still standing. What's the final takeaway here? What's the bigger lesson from the LinkedIn paradox?
I think the deeper lesson, and this applies to a lot of big platforms, not just LinkedIn, is platforms don't die when they stop being enjoyable.
Okay.
They die when they stop feeling useful.
And that's a really important distinction, because LinkedIn is definitely not enjoyable anymore. It's working badly as a social network. The feed is a mess.
But it hasn't crossed that line into being unuseful. Not yet. Because that core function, that verification piece that institutions rely on, is still rock solid. And there's no real replacement for it.
So if we're looking at what could actually threaten it, is it the competition from places like Indeed or Handshake?
The source material argues pretty convincingly that, no, that's not the real danger. Those platforms are only chipping away at small pieces of what LinkedIn does. The job board part, the student part.
So the real threat isn't external.
It's internal. The biggest danger to LinkedIn is its own complacency.
Because they know they're the default.
They know they're the default resume, so they think they can just keep making the user experience worse, keep squeezing more money out of people, keep letting the feed fill up with garbage, and we'll all just take it because we have to.
And that complacency is what creates an opening for a real disruptor.
It's the perfect opening. If someone, somehow, could create a new system for that trusted institutional verification. Maybe something on the blockchain, who knows?
Yeah.
But if they could do that without all the noise and the performance and the high cost,
then LinkedIn's core reason for being would just vanish.
it would. But until that happens, we're stuck with this really uncomfortable dual reality. So we have to answer the question we started with.
Is LinkedIn still useful?
Yes. For verification, for institutional access, absolutely. It's essential.
Is it getting worse?
Also,
Yeah.
yes, emphatically yes. The social experience is in a nosedive, and the business model feels more and more exploitative.
And that defines this new category of tech products that feel so common now.
The things that are absolutely critical for your life or your job,
Mhm.
but that you hate using. You resent them. It's the tool you don't love, but you can't quit.
Because being absent from it would be professional suicide.
Exactly. And that's what happens, I think, when a product becomes monopoly. Utility completely wins out over the human experience.
This has been a really, I think, fascinating and maybe a little bit of a sobering deep dive into the state of our big professional network. For you listening, we hope this whole analysis helps you frame that low-grade anxiety you feel every time you open the app.
Yeah, and think back to that frustration we started with. Having 500 connections but getting 0 replies. Now you know that's not your fault. It's not a failure of your outreach. It's a systemic failure of a platform that just got too big for its own good.
And maybe the takeaway is to just triage your energy. Don't waste time on the noisy feed or chasing connections. Just make sure your profile is a clean, accurate, bulletproof document for that one thing that still matters on there.
Or the verification, exactly.
And we want to leave you with one final provocative thought, something to think about as you look at all the different tools you have to use for your work.
The best products don't just change what we do, they change what we expect.
Think about that. What do you actually expect from your professional tools now? Are you still hoping for real connection and insight from a platform that's basically just a public resume and a lot of noise?
Or have you, maybe without even realizing it, started to look for utility in spite of the platform's design, not because of it?
That gap, the gap between what a tool promises and what it actually delivers, might be the biggest challenge for all of us trying to navigate our careers today.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.